And I'm going to say Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I'm so blessed and honored to be here today with Marcus Higgins, the president of Landing. What's up, Marcus? How you doing?
What's up, guys? Good to see you. I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for the opportunity, Ben.
Dude, I'm excited. I'm excited to have you here. Where in the world are you, Marcus?
I am in Birmingham, Alabama. You're seeing the beautiful Birmingham skyline right now. Landing headquarters.
That's awesome. Is that actually Landing headquarters right there, like on that, what I'm looking at right there?
That is the building I am in right now. If you look off to whatever shoulder that is right there, that building's actually being rebranded as Landing right now as well. It's an awesome apartment building called the 600 where we operate a ton of great units that y'all listening should be staying in.
Is it fair to say Landing is really taking off?
Oh, I see what you did there, Ben.
You like that?
Nailed that. You know, I would say we've been taking off, but we're finally picking up some speed.
Sharita over here, the producer's over here, she's having a little too much fun with the laugh track over here. Get in the comments, y'all. Tell me if you like my dad jokes over here. Feel free to give us some of your own dad jokes and check in with us. Let us know who you are, where you are in the world. And encourage the jokes or don't. Let us know. Sharina's over here, and then we're gonna get to all the Landing updates here. Sharina's just so excited for this episode, a little too excited, a little happy with the buttons over there. Nick Swisher checking in, excited for this one. Jody Galassi, Ben, you couldn't ask for a better, more intelligent and innovative person to interview. Ooh. I was fortunate to work with him in the past. She included her Venmo handle.
Yeah, that's odd. Fake news media right there. Thanks, Jody. Appreciate you.
No, but that's cool. I interrupted you. You were telling me about your expansion, some of the stuff that you guys are doing over there.
I mean, our business has been growing fantastic. The last year has been the best year ever. I mean, 2025 was insane for us. We have right now about 7,000 furnished apartments. And when I say that, I mean, that's core inventory. We don't list other people's inventory. So that's stuff that we're actually controlling, that's installed, real-time availability on our website. But what's cooler is it grows at 10% a month. I mean, we will finish this year with over 10,000 installed apartments all across the country. And we're very blessed to have great partners who are giving us the opportunity to deliver awesome units to everyone here.
7,000. Hey, what's up, Nick? I see 7,000 to 10,000. That's enormous. I can't do the math. That's like 45% or 4. I don't know what it is. That's a lot. What's driving that growth?
Yeah, so a few things. One, I think we've really unlocked product market fit. We've been doing this now for 7 years, and for us, the big game changer is working directly with building owners to be able to help them monetize, their apartment units. One of the interesting things as a developer and owner of multifamily myself is you look at the value of a building on an annual basis, but you really don't go into the rent roll and look at unit by unit. But not every apartment is as efficient as some of the more, common floor plans are the ones that maybe have smaller bedrooms. And so we found this ability to partner with our owners and take these units and make them more money than they were otherwise making.
When you say efficient, I want to just unpack this metric for 1 second. When you say efficient, is that like dollar per square foot, or like, what do you mean? Like, how do you measure efficiency?
Yeah, so really it's the amount of net operating income they're generating off an apartment. And if you think about the space, traditional in this country is about 18 months is how long someone stays in an apartment. And then the turnover cost is thousands of dollars and weeks of time. And so when they're partnering with Landing, we're taking that unit for 5 years at a time. So you don't have that turnover cost, you don't have that downtime. And some of these 2-3 bedroom units that have families moving in, they're just harder to repair. They're harder on the unit. And so what we're able to do is take care of a lot of that stuff, get in the unit and just keep it making money the whole time. And because of that, they can make more money with Landing than they would otherwise running it themselves. And so what's been great about our growth is almost half of it is coming from existing partners expanding. So we are really a land and expand model, both on the consumer side, the corporate side, and on the supply side. And so we get in, we do exactly what we said we're going to do. We give them a 2-year plan. We exceed those plans, and they say, hey, I want you in more buildings. I want you in more units. And that has been what's driving our growth, which is really awesome.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Get in the comments, y'all. Let us know who you are, where you are. We're talking to Marcus Higgins, the president, COO at Landing. I always, I would love people that have 2 titles. Do you get paid twice when you have 2 titles? I asked Matt Tebby at Cardis the same question. I was like, he said, you know what he told me? He said, Ben, the recruiter called me right before I started. He said, hey, I got to change. He's like, oh no, they're pulling the offer. He's like, hey, do you mind if we call you president and CEO? He's like, yeah, I don't care, whatever, as long as the offer goes through.
Well, you know what? I don't know if I get paid twice, but there are certain days where I'm definitely the president and certain days where I'm the COO. I feel like I've been a lot more president and a lot less COO as of recently, but I like to duck into both. I mean, the truth is we've got an amazing executive team. And so our team's out, pushing the business and growing it in every single corner. My primary job is just to make sure that I'm, unblocking things for them and getting the heck out of their way because they're a lot better than I am.
I love it. I love it. Get in the comments, y'all. I see some of my team on here. Team, if I had a second title, what would I add to my title? I'm going to give you opportunity to be creative, y'all. They love to check me. Jillian says, hey, Marcus, excited to see you on the show. What's up, Jilly? Appreciate you checking in here. Robin says, hi from New York. Interested to hear how things are going with this different approach to corporate housing. Can you talk a little bit about what makes it different, right? Because there's so many companies in corporate housing, right? And when I talk to some of the corporate clients out there and even some of the RMC partners out there, they look at, and frankly, it's not just corporate housing. They look at a lot of verticals this way, but like there's a lot of sameness. Yeah. What makes Landing different in the model?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things. So start first and foremost, where our inventory is located, right? Most of corporate housing is going to be in the top 3, New York, Chicago, LA. Landing really goes everywhere. So the majority of our inventory is going to be across the Sun Belt, secondary cities. You think of, the 2nd through 100th largest cities, we're going to be there. The thing that we do that's really different is when we're partnering with supply, we're not taking whole buildings. We're taking 10 to 15 units at a time. And so what that gives us is a lot of availability to get many people in a close proximity area, but give you exactly where you need to be near that office, near that contract, near whichever home you may buy or school district you need to be in. That's really unique. And then what we have done that I don't think many folks have done in the space is we've really aimed to be the wholesale corporate housing provider. We're not skilled at going out and trying to call XYZ, electrician or bank or consultant and try to get their direct business. Where we feel like our operational expertise shines is acquiring units, turning them over, cleaning them, having on the ground people who manage the service and make sure it's impeccable. And so we just stay in our lane and do what we do really well on that side. And then we let the, relocation industry come to us and say, hey, we need units here, we need units there. We work a lot through, obviously, the bid boards and any of the corporate housing providers as their core inventory supplier, so they don't have to go out and do lease matching.
Yeah, really interesting. I like how you're positioning yourself. You're kind of understanding what your strengths are, that operational kind of excellence in your ability to kind of have a lower cost model. And then, going trying to kind of wholesaling, right? Because, frankly, everyone, it seems like historically has kind of gone up market, right? And everybody wants to say, hey, we're a premium. And frankly, the marketplace is always looking for more efficient solutions, more cost-effective solutions, and to kind of go in and kind of empower some of the very entrenched layer of resellers in this business, because there's a very entrenched layer there, and we'll talk a little bit about, I'm very curious about your thoughts on that layer and stuff, and is that sustainable? But I want to kind of get your take on that if you'll share it with me. But I like the strategy there. It's kind of refreshing because I don't see a lot of strategy, frankly, in this business, if I can say that.
Well, any of our strategy comes from doing the wrong thing for years. So we've screwed this up 1,000 different ways before we really figured it out. But I would say it comes on the back of our supply partners. The way that we're acquiring real estate is not a traditional lease, sublease, or, try to match up the length of stay on the lease with the length of stay of the reservation. We're taking units for years at a time. We're sharing revenue back with the partners. So we don't have the lease obligation where we have to keep it occupied. And because we can't keep it occupied 12 months because it's a 6-month contract, we're going to charge a massive premium. We simply don't do that. So we're able to offer pricing, which is anywhere from 1/3 to 100% less than the next provider for a product that is in all ways designed for someone to live in. And so it's such a better product than a furnished rental, move in and move it back out. We don't have scuffed coffee tables or, uncomfortable couches.
So it sounds like you have a lot less risk than some of the other folks who operate in this space.
Yeah, I would say we overdosed on risk early in our tenure, as so many people in this space did. It's such admiration for the folks that are in this category and providing core supply. It's not been an easy several years, and we made similar mistakes of trying to go out and lease apartments and then sublease them and keep them occupied. And that really is a house of cards model where it just takes one COVID 9/11 type event.
I was going to say, did COVID expose some of that risk? I mean, what was that moment kind of, or that?
It was the opposite. I think actually COVID did the inverse for us, right? COVID was a canary in the coal mine of a false indicator. Like, we thought all of a sudden that demand was everywhere. We could install an apartment, somebody else would follow right behind, because for the first time in humanity, you got to work wherever you wanted. You didn't have to be where your job was. And so we were installing apartments thinking we were smart because we wouldn't do it unless somebody committed to stay for so long. But that second person got a little bit harder. The third person got harder. By the time it was the fourth person, we were in a lot of the same boats that these other companies were. And we just knew this is no way to live, right? Trying to give away apartments brings in bad tenants, brings in bad service. It hurts your brand.
Yeah.
And so we really got out of that business. I'm proud to say Landing has 0 leases in our business at all. All of our core inventory is directly through, arrangements with our owners that are sharing in the upside and not participating in the downside. And so that's what makes us a really sound partner for the global mobility and corporate housing space.
That's so interesting. Man, what you're talking about coming out of COVID being kind of a false indicator, I can totally relate to that. Real quick here, Caroline checking in. What's up, Caroline? Get in the comments, y'all. I want to hear your thoughts. If you got questions for Marcus here at Landing about their business model, about corporate housing, check in with us. Daisy Sinclair saying, hey, Marcus. What's up, Daisy? Caroline says, my other title would be artist. That was a very kind second title, Caroline. You could have said a lot of things. Maybe BS artist. That was a very nice thing, Caroline, to say. I appreciate you a lot there. But no, when you said false indicators, though, it reminded me, though, coming out of COVID, because 2021, 22 were like the best, because we have a consultancy, right, at Gloma, and then we also have a recruiting side of the business. And 21, 22 were probably the hottest years in recruiting ever, right? Everybody needed people overnight because there's all this pent up demand and everything. Everybody needed, people yesterday. They were willing to pay them 10% more than they paid them before. They could work anywhere in the world they wanted to your point earlier. And frankly, it didn't matter how qualified they were. It's like, you got a warm body, I'll take them,
Yep.
And it made us as recruiters feel like we were just brilliant. Oh, we must be so good at this, and we were just, it was like we watched those fishing videos on TikTok and the fish are jumping in the boat, that's what it felt like to me. Right. And I'm like, oh, I'm so good at business. I'm the most brilliant businessman, in the history of the world. And then you start to put risk on, you start to hire people, you start to take, more space. Now, obviously not on the scale that you guys probably did, but then in 23 and 24, for me, I don't know if this is true with y'all, but the business pulls back and you're out here exposed with so much overhead. And so what you're saying to me really resonates.
Yeah. I'm sorry you went through that. And I know all of us did, right? It was those times that I think made us better operators and able to grow now in a much more conservative and thoughtful way. But it was hard, right? We had at one point, over 6,000 leases in this business. We had 700 employees, and we really, had to get rid of almost all of that and cut
Wow.
back our employees. And, people that had worked with us for 2-3 companies, different parts across the country. It was terribly difficult decisions to make. And, the companies that are left in the space doing it, just so much respect, right? Because you didn't get there by not making the tough calls and making those hard decisions. And really grateful for our real estate partners and our team that stuck through it. Now I feel like our talent density is better than it's ever been, and we're in a really great spot to grow.
I got to ask you, speaking of that, and what's up, Sharon? I see you checking in there from Houston. Hey, Sharon, good to see you. I can't wait to see you here. I wonder if you're going to be here this week for the NTRP. Definitely going to see you for the Lone Star Relocation Summit in April. Hey, friend. I want to ask you, though, this reminds me of something that was in the news recently. And I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up, right? But I mean, the whole Saunders debacle, right? I mean, that was crazy. I mean, I woke up one day and I see Saunders in the news. And, you always want, folks in our industry to be in the news because it means we made it, right? Except when you're in the news for the wrong reasons, I mean, what was kind of the impact there, and did that kind of collapse? Did that kind of affect the way that people perceived what you guys were doing over there?
At first it's to say, like, I think they have a great management team, a great brand. Their global footprint was incredible. There's so many things that I look up to that they did well. Them going out of business rather abruptly certainly, raised concerns across the corporate housing industry that have happened. There's half a dozen examples I could name of companies that looked and smelled similar that went out of business. And anytime that happens, I think a company like Landing is automatically looked at in the same bucket. And, we don't have lease liability. They did. And we think that is, the big differentiator, and we'll never go back. So feel confident on that. I would say that, them going out of business, from the employees that we've hired that were a part of that we've been lucky enough to bring on our team, it seems like it was less just, executional things and more some cash flow stuff. And I think you get a partnership like Marriott, there's a lot that comes with that. And I don't know if they had the foundation that was ready for that scale and that growth and the loyalty programs and everything that comes in with it. But what I look at more is the excitement that a company like Marriott is looking at this category. And we see other, hospitality brands getting into it. Obviously, Airbnb is trying to get further upstream and, controlling furnished inventory. And so I think that it's great news for corporate housing, because the more providers there are, the better solutions we can give. This idea of trying to install an apartment for 3 months and then deinstall an apartment, not only is it terrible for the environment and the carbon footprint, but it's just like, it's an incredible amount of brain damage for a very few amount of margin dollars. And I think there's a better way.
Interesting. So what's the better way in your opinion, Marcus?
Long-term contracts directly with owners, furnished units that people can stay in for 2 nights up to 2 years, that, it's really living category that has all of the items you would need, from your vacuum cleaner to your in-unit washer and dryer to your blankets. And, it's really a level above rented furniture and a rented experience. And then it's having more available locations. It's not, let me take out 6 buildings and have 300 units in each, because that doesn't really work when my hospital requires me to be 15 miles away. And so I think the approach that we're going on is the right approach. I'm sure others are doing it as well. We're not the only ones to discover fire in this situation. But I do think that we have a really good first mover advantage. And to your earlier point, it's scaling really well right now.
When you talk about scale, and you talk about, some of as we use that kind of the Sonder example and everything, and I never understood how you could implode a company until I did it myself, right? And I love what you said before about, learning strategy from what not to do, and I do think that's the best way to do it is to learn from what not to do. I'm a like, I have to touch the stove to know it's hot. I know people told me it's hot, but I got to see how hot it is, and maybe they just touched it wrong the last time. So I totally get that. But how do you scale something like you're doing at Landing? I mean, you're talking about growing a business that 40% unit growth or whatever this year.
Yeah.
How do you do that and make sure that you're doing it sustainably?
Yeah. Well, I think first, early in my career, I would have said, like, if we're not breaking things, we're not moving fast enough. So, like, mistakes are expected. Let's keep going. But as it evolved and as landings evolved, we really think a lot about two-way door decisions, right? Like, we want to make a decision that we can walk out the other way if it doesn't work before we scale it rapidly. And so that's something we didn't do at the beginning in 2019. And now we're really meticulous and cautious before we make a big bet to test it and get some early learnings. And then we kind of double down. To scale a business at the level we're running right now, it requires people, right? All a business is people with a shared mindset rowing in the same direction. So making sure there's alignment in what we're doing, how we're doing it. I really believe in the Amazonian principles of how to build a business and operate a business. And with that, I mean single strand ownership. So when we think about who's going to own installing an apartment, there's got to be one person, and that person's going to have the furniture and the housewares and the install and the paint and the Wi-Fi and the TVs and all the stuff. And then we think about who's going to own the guest experience. Well, I want to know there's one person that owns all of Austin's experiences, and there's one person underneath that person that owns all of this building's experiences. And so when one of our customers has an issue and they reach out, they're getting contacted directly with the person who is down the street or sometimes down the hall who can walk over and fix the issue rather than trying to centrally manage this. I just don't think that works in the world of real estate.
Interesting. We got questions. Get in the comments, y'all. Let us know what you're thinking out there. If you got questions for Marcus, if you got comments about corporate housing, what's going on right now. Sharon's got a question here. She says, Marcus, does Landing still require membership that allows your guests to move to a different location every 30 days?
Sharon, thanks for being a longtime follower to ask that question. We do not. And so Landing has a membership model when we originally launched. I mean, our business was launched to be a consumer model originally. And we went with this concept. Remember, pre-COVID, we were better lucky than good. We built a living network before COVID happened where you could live wherever you wanted.
A living network. I like that.
We thought we had really, struck gold, and it turned out to not be.
Like a passport for digital nomads, and you could just kind of float around. It just kind of
turns out those customers are few and hard and expensive to find.
Yeah.
And so our model now is very much trying to make sure that every stay feels like home, whether that is for 2 nights or that is for 3 years. We still offer a membership fee if customers want to pay and have the access to transfer around the network. But we don't have that as a requirement. So anyone can book at Landing, and any of our corporate clients, we've never charged that membership fee for them to come on board.
Interesting. I wonder, is there a corporate application for something like this? I mean, for project managers that are hopping around, or construction type folks, or I wonder, because I'm always thinking about the corporate transferee or business traveler.
Yeah, for sure. Once again, we're working mostly with corporate housing companies on a wholesale basis, but what we see is across a variety of asset classes, all sorts of different use cases. But that construction crew, that film crew, that minor leagues baseball team, whatever that may be, there's so much corporate demand for our product because it is consistent. It's everywhere. We've got over 10 apartments at all these different buildings. And so we definitely see that customer base.
Is there an area, I mean, maybe it's the corporate relocation side, but I doubt it. Is there an area that is maybe growing or overlooked, or you think is like kind of an area of growth that people should be talking more about?
It's a good question, Ben. I mean, for us, where we see a lot of growth is in the shorter stays. Traditionally, our corporate housing business has been 60-night stays. We offer a flexible stay length. So, if it's 62, if it's 58, whatever you need, just give us a 14-day notice when you're done with the apartment. Stay as long as you want.
That's nice.
Yeah, I think it matters for this industry because there's just so much that's in the air on a lot of these stays. But where we see a huge amount of growth is actually less than 30-night stays. the extended stay hotel model is a challenging model for the customers in our category here. It tends to be not located in city centers. The price point's not great. It doesn't have in-unit laundry. You really can't make a frozen pizza on a stovetop. Like, there's just a lot of stuff that is broken about it. And so, rather than spending a few weeks at your favorite extended stay hotel brand, you can stay at Landing, where you literally get twice the space, twice the amenities, and it is half the price.
You sound like a man that may have made a pizza on a stovetop before.
I've eaten thousands of frozen pizzas, Ben. I'm an expert frozen pizza connoisseur. Everyone at Landing will tell you that I really like fancy things, but not fancy people, and I do not have good taste.
I want to go back to the thing about the flexible stay though thing, because I think that's really interesting. You talk about the 62 days or the 58 days or the what, and I really like that. And I see sometimes where we as service providers in this business will force our customer to do things because we have bad contracts, or we have a underlying cost structure or underlying business terms from our downstream suppliers or contractors, and we have to then carry it forward and then make the. So in the moving business, it was the 4-hour mini. So you couldn't, you might pay by the hour, but you had to have at least 4 hours.
Right.
Well, that was because our contractor model said that, Joe Contractor had to get paid at least 4 hours to show up. Well, that's because we ran a contractor model, not an hourly employee model. If we ran an hourly employee model, we wouldn't have that obligation. But now we pass that inconvenience along to our client. And that's just the way it always is kind of thing. And so I love to hear about suppliers that are able to kind of work around that or kind of rethink that a little bit.
Yeah, for us, it's starting with the customer experience and working backwards in everything that we do. And so how do we make a great customer experience? And what we found and we heard from our customers was, hey, I don't want to pay for 3 months, but I think I only need it for 2 months. What's the solution here? And for anyone who's used to the traditional lease matching of inventory model, it was a binary selection. It's either 2 or 3 months. Like, I can't help you in that. And so for us, because we have supply locked up for years, like, we don't care. Stay as long as you just give us 14 days notice, because that's really all it takes us to find the next person to move into that unit. And if there's a little gap on the model, it's okay, because we're working with a supply partner who was happy with the money that we're driving to their unit that would have otherwise not made as much. So I think that's really important. It's one of the things that I think is really tough about this industry right now is it's such a reseller to a reseller to a reseller situation. And when you think about the customer experience, like, imagine being locked out of your apartment, you forgot your keys, and you call company A, who takes an hour to call company B, who can't get a hold of company C, who then gets a hold of company D, and then they finally call Landing 3 hours later after all this process, and we're able to solve the issue. But that is a real life solution that happens to us every single day.
Yeah.
The amount of middle layers that are happening in this industry blows my mind.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy because the trend is disintermediation, and yet for some reason in our business, intermediation is the trend, and it's kind of crazy. I know exactly what you mean, and it's so funny because people ask me why I started this show, and I said I started this show and I called it Love and Relo because I wanted to bring out the personal stories. And I wanted to have the conversations, not the ones that were had on the stage and the panel discussions, but the ones I would have at the bar over a glass of wine at 10 o'clock. And the example I used was, and this is in 2000 when I started this, and 19 when I conceived of it, but I would be sitting at the bar having a glass of wine with my friends in corporate housing, and they are literally crying about all of the platforms and the layering and having to be a slave to these platforms and these emails, and if you don't respond quick enough, and if you don't have, and they're getting the same inquiry from multiple ones, and I'm like, how come nobody's talking about this on stage, but all we're doing is crying about it at the bar?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that was literally one of the stories that made me like, yo, we have to make a platform where we can talk about the things that people are really talking about.
I'm glad that you did. And I think our earlier conversation about, Sonner going out of business, like I think there's a pretty clear line, maybe it's dotted, between why it works this way and the lack of trust that exists amongst these, new entrants into the space. And I think establishing that trust is so important in this space because, at the end of the day, if you're not controlling the core supply, you certainly need to make sure that the person who is someone you trust. But what has happened is the person you trust trusts somebody that you've never met, and they trust somebody that you've never met. And it's just gotten too far extended. And I think technology in this category has been used in this bid boarding format, which has actually exacerbated the problem. It's not brought more trust and better customer solutions. I've never worked in an industry where not giving the customer the best product at the best price in the most efficient way doesn't win. And I think that will play out in corporate housing as well. And we're just trying to position ourselves to be there when it does.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? Because people talk about, faster, cheaper, better is kind of what we strive for. And you don't see cheaper, you don't see faster, and better's questionable, and I don't see where these things are values that we're going towards. Sharon says there's no crying in corporate housing. Yes, Sharon. I know she's saying that tongue in cheek because oh my gosh, Sharon, put some quick comments in there. You ever cry in corporate housing, Sharon? I want to know. Put it. Thank you, Sharita, with the want-wants over there. Oh my gosh, this is just so funny. Yeah, but I mean, do y'all participate in that? I mean, did you impacted by that? Are you affected by that dynamic that we're seeing?
Yeah, we are all the time. I mean, we're working with our partners on that wholesale basis and giving them, quotes. And, we don't find out where they always end up. But when there is a service issue, oftentimes somebody will come over the top who we didn't have an agreement with, and we were surprised to find out that we're working with them. You talk about better, faster, stronger. Well, the bid boards require speed, but it's pretty difficult to quote a 20 unit deal where you have to figure out what is the lease cost, what's the furniture cost, when can I get in. But it's a heck of a lot easier to go to landing and see what real-time availability is and put it in there right away. And I think that just happens more often than not because all of our supply is core and there are people that trust out there that that's what they can do. I think that's what's driving a lot of the growth, and where I'd really love to see this podcast take traction is just to start establishing that trust and having open conversations about how do these platforms work and what is different about them.
Yeah, the trust thing is interesting because the platform says trust me and I'll take care of it and I'll use trusted partners. But they don't want to have transparency and show you who the partner is, and they'll say, well, hold on, that's proprietary. And yet the client's like, yeah, except I'm putting my employee's family in there,
Right.
and I have a duty of care. And it's like, well, it's kind of interesting. And then of course it doesn't hurt when some of the relocation companies might, actually take that information and actually go around the provider to go directly to the supplier too. So there's trust is an interesting thing, Marcus.
Yeah, it is. It's a hard space to navigate right now. I really feel like it's at a stage of influx. I mean, from what we've seen in the last 7 years, it's just our corporate business has changed so much. And, we got a whole team of people that are rocking bid boards out all day long to win small percentages of the effort that they do. And it's an unsustainable strategy. Once again, what we're great at, acquiring awesome real estate, filling it with incredible furniture, and then delivering a great experience. We're just going to focus on that last mile side. And I think as we grow the supply big enough, people will realize this bid board strategy may not be as efficient as going to the one provider that has a dedicated owner in this market who's going to make sure that this process rocks.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you about this. I'm going to change it. Let me ask you this. What is one tough problem that you wrestle with or that you're excited to try to solve, out there in corporate housing?
Dude, access.
Okay.
Access is the biggest grind in corporate housing from our standpoint, right? Because imagine you've got thousands of apartments across over, hundreds of different owners. There is traditionally a lock system that we're going to change out the lock on the unit so it works directly on our app. So it's just the smoothest thing. But we have to have a white label solution because if it's, a third party, so we have, okay, here's your white label access solution. But then getting into the building is usually a different lock. And so we got to have a white label solution for that. And then getting into the gate or the parking garage is a different access credential. Now take 7,000 units that are turning over constantly. You're doing 1,000 plus of these that are happening every week and trying to deliver that experience in a consistent way that we really think about how do we make this better than a hotel check-in? That's a real grind. And when it comes to the corporate housing space where it's being sold 2 to 3 times before it gets to, XYZ executive's family, and they may not have been on the email communications, solving that is something that's really tricky. We're fortunate that there's a lot of other great players and great technologies that are out there, but we spend more time thinking about how to deliver that experience than you would ever imagine.
Yeah, that's I've stayed in a lot of corporate housing. I have a lot of friends in the space, and I've been fortunate enough to be given a lot of opportunities to stay in several different countries in corporate housing. And you're right, the different contraptions you come across to get into a building, and the keypads, the sensitivity of the fobs and I punched this in and did it get my entry, and you're standing there and maybe it's cold, maybe it's rainy and cold like it was in DC for me that time. And you're just like, and it's always, for some reason, it's always 11:45 at night. For some reason, I don't know why it's always 11:45. Maybe that's just when I go home, but it's always 11:45 at night when I'm trying to figure out how to use the keypad. And then you go to the front desk, and the front desk person's always like, "Oh, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea." Like, oh man, it's wild.
That's exactly it. And we think about that problem. We do this incredible process. We call it voice of the customer. But every week we take the gnarliest, grossest mistake that happened across our business, and we bring in all the managers and we go through it line by line and figure out what are we going to build that is a sustainable solution that will ensure this never happens again. And so many of those come back to access. And it really comes to, if you're working with the property manager on a lease, you don't have a lot of control. These are our locks. This is what we do. One of the reasons we partner with owners is we're able to then control the access solutions and deliver a better experience. But when you're at the mercy of the third-party fee manager, you kind of get what you get, and it is difficult to operate this business in that model.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I mean, that's really interesting. I heard that you think that you think this business might even be worthy of a Harvard case study. Why is that?
I think because the importance of trust and how it grew up, right? Growing up with it's very difficult to build a national model in this. And there's people who've done a great job. But if you look at the Oakwood case study, you're like, what an amazing business. And what Tom and NCH have done, what an amazing business as well. But how that progressed and stymied into all these folks that then broke apart, started their own regional company, but they knew each other and trusted each other. But then as they've started to retire and these new entrants have come in with venture capital, like evil hero dollars, and everyone's, out against them, it's changed to the point where protectionism of the old industry is more important than what's best for the customer in many regards. And I'm not saying that that's not warranted, because there's been many people who've come in this space and have left this space in just a few short years. But that fear and that trust to the old relationships, I really think has stopped some evolution. And the evolution that I hear about when I go to relocation conferences and when I go to CHIPA conferences, it's talking a lot about other things, to your earlier point, but it's not really talking about this. And there are a few people in the category who would love to talk to me about, how bid boards may not be the best thing for the customer and how not having core inventory may not be the best thing for the customer. But for the most part, that is a taboo conversation that should be left aside. And I think what's going to end up happening, and I really believe it, is that the best solution for the customer will win. And I think from a Harvard, case study review, following how trust has these cycles across an industry is really noteworthy and something that I plan to use for the rest of my career.
That's really interesting. What do you think about, regulation in your seat?
Yeah.
Because regulations on a municipal level are different, notoriously in this business,
Yep.
city to city, some major cities. Do you think we need more regulation in this business? Do you think we need less regulation? I see cases made for both sides of this.
Well, I don't think I'm qualified to say what regulation is in any city or not, because I don't understand what the housing shortages or lack thereof may be. What I would say is we have to spend a lot of time thinking about what the regulation in a market is before we take on new units, and then projecting what that will mean for the amount of demand and the pricing that we can drive before we make the decision to invest money and go in and launch that property. And we think about those decisions very carefully, but we always have to factor in this could and likely will change sometime over the next 10 years. So are we going to be right long enough before it changes? I would tell you across our inventory, about half of it allows less than 30-night stays, but we would do it everywhere. It's the municipality regulations that don't. And we have a phenomenal team that is out tracking those every single day, not just across new properties, but going back to our existing inventory to ensure that we're always staying compliant.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because I love going to New York, right? I got family in New York. I grew up in White Plains, and that's one of those cities where there's some really stringent regulations around corporate housing and how you do it, right? And I don't know if it makes it better or not. I don't know if it relieves a housing shortage, or not, or if it. I don't know. You're right about the macroeconomics.
Yeah, I don't know that either. But what I do know is that in those cities that restrict that, and you end up staying in a hotel with your family, extended stay hotels are not a great solution for family relocations. Getting connecting rooms is never guaranteed. Getting rooms across the hall is the pain. Even if you have hotel rooms, you don't have enough space for your stuff. You don't have the kitchen. You don't have the shared moments in the living room because there's 2 rooms. It is not a great product. It's not been a great product forever. And that's really what landing is here to solve, right? We just think that whole extended stay model can be improved. And I do believe the vacation rental business has done great steps there, but they're missing the consistency. And we are able to offer the consistency of your favorite hotel brand across 7,000 and growing 10% every month furnished apartments in a way that no one's been able to do before.
Yeah, no, I 1,000% agree with you. I travel with my 2 boys who are 7 and 10, and they're big enough to need some room, but they're young enough to need supervision, and so a 2-bedroom corporate apartment is money, and I just there's nothing better than it. It really is nothing better than that scenario, and it pains me when I don't have access to it in certain cities, and I don't know, and I'm only going for a week maybe, and I don't know how people do it for 60 days.
Yeah, not well. And there's one thing better than a 2-bedroom corporate apartment for your family. That's a 3-bedroom corporate apartment.
Yeah.
Not getting the boys to share their room is even, they each get their own TV. Like, oh, this is incredible.
Yeah,
but
that's a vacation.
Thing. Yeah, we always stay in landings with my family when we travel. And I've got 2 daughters. And, when they can each have their own room and landing puts TVs in each room, my wife and I get our own spot. It turns from a relocation to a vacation really quickly.
Yeah, that's nice. That might be a little tagline for you.
Might be for you. I mean, love and relo. You might be able to tagline your brand.
Hey, let me ask you though about this as we talk about relocation. We've been seeing a influx in lump sum moves, right? I mean, it's no secret, and I call it the consumerization of our industry. As much as we may not like it, since we're in the managed relocation industry. But how has that changed the way that we market our services and the types of experiences that we kind of curate for our clients?
Well, I think it requires to be where the consumer is, right? As it goes to lump sum, it's very hard to find a majority of corporate housing companies when it's so much easier to find a company like Landing or go to Expedia or Airbnb. It's just, so it's how do you get out in front of where that consumer is? And I think, the way to do it with companies that are offering lump sum reloads is obviously build that relationship with the HR team and the reload team and have them share that along. But it's a lot trickier. I think that we're in a fine spot from our side there because we started as a consumer business and we've evolved to have corporate housing be a portion of our business. And so we try to be in both spots. But I think that that industry change is crazy because we've seen it too. Our corporate housing business has changed where a lot of what we would traditionally call corporate housing has now moved to our consumer side of our business just because they're getting lump sums. And what I think is really interesting to see is by category. When we look at the healthcare category, we see the desire is give me the lowest cost thing I could possibly get that fits this contract. But when we look at the consultant or the sports and entertainment or the construction side, like, no, it's all about like the amenities, location, the quality of the property, even in the lump sum world, because they know they're really going to be using the space, not just crashing for 5 hours and trying to, keep as much money as they can in their bank account.
Yeah. I think it's incumbent on all of us to figure out ways to, innovate and drive efficiencies in our cost. And that's why I really do love your model, because you figured out ways to de-risk it, to lower your cost structure, which is what you have to do because the consumerization trend is here. It's been on us since, 2017 at the latest, with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, right? And, if we're not doing it, if we're not finding less expensive ways to deliver service, to be competitive, we can cry about the fact that folks are hitting up Airbnb or they're on Google trying to find solutions or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're going to get our lunch eaten.
Yeah, there's riches and niches, right? If I'm in, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I offer the best furnished apartments, like people are going to find me. I'm going to be able to build that brand on the internet. And, I think with what's happening with language learning models, I'll probably show up higher and be able to get some revenue there. I think that's a possibility. But for Landing, the majority of our business originates on Landing, right? We're not building the business that's renting customers on OTAs and paying that tax. We have spent a fair amount of money, which, has been a long-term investment on building our brand. So we're prepared, regardless if the customer comes in through our, wholesale corporate housing providing model or directly to our website.
I love that saying, the riches are in the niches, but I prefer the French, the riches are in the niches.
I like that potato. I'm in Birmingham, so you can't use me for how to speak proper English.
No, this is good. This is a lot of fun. Hey, I could talk to you. I could talk to you all day about the economics of this business and the model and everything. I love it. I really do, Marcus. But let's have a little fun, huh? Let's play a little game.
I'm about it. Let's go.
Let's go. All right. So let's play a little game. We got a game for you here. The moment you've all been waiting for. Hit that like button. Get in the comments, y'all. We're going to play a game called Overrated, Underrated. All right. Let's go. Let's hear it. There you go. Let's go. All right. The crowd goes wild. Get in the comments, y'all. Let us know what you think. Marcus, do you know how to play the game?
I think it seems self-explanatory. You're going to give me a topic. I'm going to say overrated or underrated.
There's a twist, though.
Okay.
I will tell you if you are correct.
Do I explain why, or do I just have to say the answer?
Resistance is futile. Yes, no, of course, yes. You can, of course, you can explain yourself.
Okay.
Well, I'm not an animal. Yes, the first one up. Overrated, underrated, the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, gosh, that hurts my heart. This is my team for sure.
Dude, what happened this year, man? Y'all were so good for so long.
We had a Super Bowl winning quarterback. We don't keep
wrong team.
Yeah, we just don't keep them. I would have to say overrated. I mean, it's just we are the third worst franchise, the longest we've gone without a Super Bowl. I mean, it's my entire lifetime I've never seen one, and I don't know if I will. But I'm still bleeding purple, baby. I'm with it. I'm not a bandwagon guy.
I think if you're bleeding purple, it means your blood needs oxygen. I think that the Minnesota Vikings. Listen, y'all were really good. I can't believe the Bears won your division. That was wild and a wild turn of events. You got rid of Darnold, and then he goes on to win Super Bowl. I mean,
Dude, Kirk
nuts.
Cousins. I mean, we got rid of him when he was doing great too. It's not easy. If you, as a Vikings fan, just bought the jersey of every starting quarterback, you'd be bankrupt for sure. There's just no chance that you can't keep up. I still rock with my Favre, my Warren Moon. I got a Cousins, but I've just given up. I'm too old for this game.
Yeah.
If we get a quarterback for 3 years in a row, maybe I'll get back in.
Maybe a little Rich Gannon. All right, here we go. All right, so you know what? You're right. Okay, all right. He's got one. He's got a point. He's got a point. Give him a point. Give him a point. We need like a ding. We need like a bell. Give him a point. All right, here we go. Next one up here. God. Ooh.
Oh man,
Totally
underrated. Totally underrated for me. I'm operating hard businesses like you, Ben. It's not easy. And if you don't believe in a higher power, I think you're taking too much credit when things go well, and you are killing yourself when things don't go well. You got to believe that there's a bigger plan. I really believe if you don't quit, you win, especially in the startup world.
Mm-hmm.
And, Landing's best ideas are not from Landing. They're really from God. And that's
awesome.
I can't be a big enough fan and more grateful for everything he's given us at this business.
Amen. That's awesome, dude. I love everything you just said there. Yeah, that's awesome. Love it, man. I can only give you one
It'd
point.
be a bold strategy to go against me on that one.
Overrated. We smote. 2 points. 2 points. All right, 2 points. Keep it moving. All right. Next one up, Lane Kiffin, overrated, underrated. Go from God to Lane Kiffin. Hard
Can I pass? I think underrated. I mean, you got somebody who can win games, fill seats. You saw what happens when he's not there. You see what happens when he's there. I moved to Birmingham. I'm not a SEC guy. I claimed my team. You can mark it official right here. I'm picking LSU. I'm on the Lane train, and I think he's underrated.
Oh man, that's he did Ole Miss so dirty. He did Ole Miss so dirty, and oh man, one of my coworkers, Daisy's probably watching the program. Her daughter goes to Ole Miss, and just left them at the altar right there when they were in the playoffs. And man, Lane, but he does win. He does win. But man, and LSU at one point was paying like 5 head coaches or something at the same time. That's a business model.
That's my kind of business. Yeah, 10 apartments per property. Let's go. Let's spread our bets down.
You could make a whole vertical of just housing coaches for LSU. Lane, I don't know, man. I think Lane's gonna have a little bit of a setback year this year. I think he's gonna have a setback. I don't think LSU's gonna make the final four this year. It's gonna be a little bit of a humbling year for Lane Kiffin. I think Lane might be a little over it. I think Lane might be a little big for his britches. The Peter principle, you say you're promoted to the point of your own incompetence. I think this one right here might be for Lane Kiffin.
Well, we'll come back for episode 1402. We'll review. Be clear, I didn't pick LSU because I think they're going to have the world's best football team. I think they have the best fans.
Yes.
I've not met an LSU grad who is not about having a good time and is not kind, and those are my people. That's the energy I get with.
We're getting some love here, some Go Tigers. My cousin was in the office yesterday. He goes to LSU. He's a senior right now.
Yeah, but he's fun.
He's all right. He's all right. Tressa, though, I bet Tressa's a good time. Mardi Gras is right around the corner, too. Hey, all right. Next one up here. All right, overrated, underrated, the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, overrated for life. Overrated for life. Best football experience in the NFL for sure. Lambeau's a magical experience. It is fun, but as a football team, how many friends I have that are shareholders of the Green Bay Packers? It's a joke. It's a scam. Fully out.
Green Bay Packers are a scam. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
It is kind of a scam, though. I mean, I like the concept, but what is your share worth? Can you cash it in?
You can't cash it in. You can't vote on it. I mean, if this was there's no way. It should be. They're out.
It's a scam.
Overrated. Jordan Love, the whole experience for me. I've just, they were great when they had Brett Favre, and then he came to Minnesota, and then they went back to being themselves. So it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to Lambeau for a game, and I actually thought the fans were pretty nice to opposing fans. It wasn't quite as cold as it could have been in mid-November. We brought our own cardboard to stand on. The stands don't have seats or seat backs to them. It's just bench seating.
Well, yeah, and everyone's wearing 3 snowmobile jackets, so your seat is half a seat by the time you sit down. So you've got to stand.
You got to stand.
It's a great football experience. But yeah, why would you want to do that when you could be in Birmingham going to Bryant-Denny Stadium, cheering on LSU beating Alabama? That's the kind of life that I'm signing up for.
Or in that climate-controlled AT&T Stadium at Jerry World,
I can get with it. I can get with that.
Yeah. Green Bay, overrated. Overweight. I mean, how many bratwursts can you eat? Next one up, the Alabama Crimson Tide.
I'm going underrated. I think they have a lot of hype, so it's very bold to say that. But the expectations of winning a championship are not. I don't think that's fair. The legacy of winning that Coach Saban has put into that program, and not just in the football team, but really throughout the university, is incredible. I mean, we're lucky to have so many graduates from that school working at Landing. It's just an incredible place. I think it's really underrated.
It's hard to follow that act, huh? With Saban, that poor guy came in after the fact, and now he's got to live up to that. And every year they're like, "Hey, man, where's the chip? Where's the chip?" And that's tough. That is really tough.
Well, someday somebody's going to be hosting Love and Relo in the exact same problem, and I hope someone says, that they're underrated.
I'll be hosting game day, and I don't know, he's probably going to bomb today. We'll see. You know what? Fine, I'll give you the point on that one. All right, nice job, Marcus. There you go. Overrated, underrated. This has been a lot of fun. I've had a great time with you, Marcus. You want to give us a final thought, man? Something to chew on before we say goodbye to everybody.
Yeah, I would just say, coming up, we got a lot of conferences. We're going into conference season, and the Landing team is going to be representing hard at Chippa coming up. And I just encourage you, reach out if you have any questions, want to understand how our model works. There is no wrong question. There's no tough question. We'd much rather have a difficult conversation than not have one at all. And so thankful for everyone in this community and in this space, not only for listening today, but also giving us the opportunity to grow our business and partner with them, and look forward to many years to come.
Awesome. Yeah. Shout out to everybody that's going to be at CHPA down in Austin, right?
That's right.
It's going to be a good time. People are digging the interview. Thanks, Robin. Appreciate you. Thanks, Sharon. Thanks, everybody tuned in here. Just is throwing a last second overrated in there. LSU fan. I love it. Love it. Christopher McClintock. That's great. McClintock. That's an old John Wayne movie. I love it. Nick Swisher checking in. What's up, Nick? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'll pop one down to Austin. Come say hey to everybody. I don't know.
I don't know how you could recruit for this industry if you're not there. The best talent's can be there.
Yeah. Maybe I will. I don't know. Maybe I will.
I hope to see you there.
I usually do a show from there. They didn't call me this year, Marcus.
I think we sponsored it, so you can host the Landing Love and Relo show from wherever we're at.
There it is. Sounds good. I love it. Perfect. Sounds great, y'all. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for being here today. We wouldn't have a show without you. We will see y'all tomorrow. Same time. Same channel. All right. Sounds good, y'all. Take care.
Thanks, man. See y'all.